Our speaker today is Max Lakes from Peoria Zoo. He is born in Lexington, Kentucky and raised in central Kentucky and southern Ohio. Dr. Max Lakes dropped out of high school after the 9th grade and did not begin his higher education journey until his late 30s. Max always had a passion for animals, and after pursuing careers in hospitality management and higher education, he decided to follow the dream he had since visiting the Cincinnati Zoo as a child, to work with animals at a zoo. Max began working at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium while completing his doctoral research at the Columbus Zoo. After graduating, Max went on to work at the Sedgwick County Zoo in Wichita, Kansas, then as a deputy director and education curator at the Lee Richardson Zoo in Garden City, Kansas, and as director at the Alexandria Zoo. And now, Dr. Max Lakes is the new director of the Peoria Zoo and Luthi Botanical Garden. He has launched conservation initiatives, championed education, created a college program in zoo sciences, and still somehow found time to be a Rotarian. He does not, however, have a current club, so talk up Peoria-North to him. Not only has Max already made Peoria his new home, but he also has recruited his mother, sister, and 2 nephews to move to Peoria as well. Welcome, Max.
I'm very quiet. Working at a zoo, when you work at a zoo and it gets real quiet, yeah, you got some anticipation going on. Thank you for the very kind introduction, Leah. I add in, and I tell people that I was a high school dropout, and some of the other stuff about my childhood, not because I'm trying to garner sympathy or make you feel bad for me, but it's to let you know that the stuff that we're going to talk about in this slide, as far as the impact that zoos and aquariums and botanical gardens have on people, actually work, because I'm standing up here living proof of it. I might have done it wrong. Oh no, you told me that you turned it off, so I also listen like a primate.
How's it doing now?
Yeah, there we go. So I won't go over all of this for you. Again, we included that. We'll tell you, so my introduction to zoos came in, I'm going to date myself, 1978, sitting on my dad's shoulders when the gorillas at Cincinnati Zoo got to come outside for the first time ever at that zoo. So that will tell you the distance that we have come in animal care in AZA accredited zoos between then and now. This here is a picture of me. It's not the best picture, but I love this picture. When I go on vacation, I go to places that I've worked and zoos that I've worked at, and I visit the friends and the animals that I've made friends with. This gentleman's name is Billy. He is a 460-pound gorilla, and him and I have a great friendship. We actually still FaceTime, so it's really, really fun. The zoo that he is at, Sedgwick County Zoo, bought a special iPad so we could FaceTime because their freaking hands are so big and they're so strong. When he'd reach through to touch the screen, he'd shatter it. So they're like, okay, we'll get us an industrial iPad so that way you all can do this. Now, the reason for that story is, one, gorillas were my first love in 1978. And I'm very lucky to have had the chance to work with numerous species and numerous individuals that have made a very marked impact on my life. You're also going to notice I'm talking about animals, but I'm also calling them individuals. There might be some biologists, there's some natural scientists in here that are going, oh my God, he's going to anthropomorphize. And yes, I am. Because each one of these, there is, 11 gorillas at this institution, and each one of them has a very definitive personality. Billy has a great personality, but Billy was hand-raised because his mother rejected him at birth. The people who raised him and the man who raised him, so he was born in 91. I know 91 for most of us in here isn't that long ago, but it was a very harsh way of bringing them up, so he didn't have a good interaction with men. I went over, I was working, sat down, Billy had a great interaction with me, and the keepers there were like, oh my God, he doesn't like any men. Will you come back and sit with him so we can build a relationship with the man? I said, if I got to, I mean, I guess I will. So I would get my laptop and I'd go over and work, and then we built that relationship. Now, the reason I'm telling this story at the very beginning of this and not in the middle or at the end is that's central to my job, and that's central to what zoos do, is building relationships with people, building nice empathetic relationships between our guests and our animals, and then also with the students. I love seeing the students here. Glad you didn't drop out. I don't recommend the fact. So that was a little bit about me, and anybody that wants to talk after, I can tell you more about how Cincinnati Zoo and me as a child and all of that connected. It was a different kind of childhood, but that storyline also plays into this storyline. So this is most of you all in here know it far better than I do. Talking to some people who grew up as kids and then brought their families and raised their families and are now taking their grandkids to the zoo. Met another member who is taking his family currently. We couldn't do it without you all. So you probably know the zoo better than I do. But there are 4 items on here that really stick out to me. Those 4 are 19 members of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. I'm very proud of that, and we still have that accreditation to this day. In 1989, this isn't picking on Peoria or Peoria Zoo. Some of you remember an article that came out in Parade magazine where the Peoria Zoo was rated as one of the 10 worst zoos in the country. And then after that came 1997 and 75 kind of tying together, because you had Friends of the Glen Oak Zoo, which then transitioned in 97 to the Peoria Zoological Society, which is the current zoological society that helps fundraise for the zoo so we can get better. Then 2009 was the opening of Africa. Those are the 4 big ones because Peoria community and the Peoria Park District and Peoria Zoo made a decision that you all were going to keep an AZA accredited zoo. There were other options out there, and some zoos from the 70s to the 90s, it's very common for zoos to go, we can't do this anymore, and opted out. I love the Cincinnati Zoo. It is a preeminent zoo in the country right now. It has an amazing scientific community. It has science going on grounds. When I was there as a child, it was rough. You didn't always leave with a nice warm fuzzy feeling in your belly. You often left going, man, glad I'm not an animal there. But the decisions were made. I mean, I started at Columbus Zoo, and it was under a man you all might have heard of, Jack Hanna. They still to this day call it the house that Jack built. When he started there in the early 70s, he had to befriend the jailer because he couldn't get anybody to even apply for the keeper jobs he had. Couldn't run the zoo, so he had the jailer bring down the inmates, and they would help him get the zoo up and ready for the guests to come in. Cincinnati Zoo, Columbus Zoo were both preeminent zoos in the nation. Peoria Zoo and this community made the same decision to keep that level of zoo. And that's why AZA is so impactful, and why I said that the first as far as the 4 things on this timeline that are important. We don't talk about AZA enough. Most people, I'll say AZA and they kind of give me a blank look, and I get it. It's the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Like I said, since 1986, we have been members and accredited. The accreditation is huge. We have to, every standard that we undertake is the same standard as what you all might consider the big boys in the zoo world. San Diego, Disney, Brookfield, Lincoln Park, Cincinnati, Columbus. All of those have the exact same standards that we do. I'm gonna give you a little primer. Not many people know this. Our 2 rhinos went out. You all might remember them as Harris and Leo. They went to 2 AZ accredited zoos. Then we've just received in 2 young males from San Diego. That would not have happened if we were not an AZA accredited institution and following the standards that we need to have the best animal care experience and the best guest experience possible. Now, the AZA also gets us access to animal experts from around the world and different scientists on different levels for different species. We have amazing experts at the Peoria Zoo on different species here, but we don't have one for every species. The 231 AZA accredited institutions do have experts on every species, so we're able to partake of knowledge. And to put that number 231 into context, so if you want to go and show an animal or charge somebody a ticket to come and see an animal All you need is a USDA Class C license, and then you can open your doors and show animals. There's about 2,900 institutions currently in America that have a USDA Class C. There are 231 that choose to have the AZA accreditation. It's not cheap, I'll tell you that. You all, for those of you who remember the Africa campaign and building it and all of that, and the numbers that went with it, it is expensive. But it comes with a great experience. The animals have a much better life. Guests have a great experience, and we're able to do much more educationally for the students of Central Illinois. Now, while it is expensive, we do get some things back from us out of that commitment to AZA. Some of that is in our species survival plan. All that means is for the different species, we have a stud book. It's exactly what it sounds like. Every animal that we have of that species in the country is in this book. Stud books have a stud book keeper. They make decisions on where to place animals so we can have the best genetic variability possible. You know, we don't want any three-legged lions running around because as I learned in Kansas working around the ranchers, it's not inbreeding, it's in-line breeding. So we try to make sure that we don't have any in-line breeding with our animals. We actually have a giraffe currently. I'll tell you her story in a minute. But the species survival plan and those stud books are super, super important. That also means we don't have to pay and don't pay for any of our animals. We don't take any of our animals from the wild. Those from other zoos. Now, that just on the is huge. Say you want to go out and just buy your giraffe. Believe it or not, you can go out and buy a giraffe. It's going to cost you about $250,000. And you're not going to know the giraffe's lineage. You're not going to know its health. You're just going to have a $250,000 giraffe that nobody else in the country is going to help you breed with. Sorry, I saw a dog. I'm a big dog lover. So I often tell people my mind works somewhat like a group of capuchin monkeys. So if there's something bright and shiny going on, I'll jump over to that real quick. But we'll always come back to the original. And that helps us with all of our animals here at the Peoria Zoo. And we do have some critically endangered animals like the cotton-top camerons. The white rhinos are getting near threatened. They're southern white rhinos. And we can pull from that expertise around the country. The giraffes that I was going to tell you about, one of them, her name is Emmy. And she is an older giraffe. You might have seen on social media that she had an eye infection that was not responding to treatment. So we had to do an eye enucleation. All that means is we took it and popped that eye out. So we have a one-eyed giraffe, which for anytime you go under the needle, it's difficult and it's dangerous. When you're a 15-foot giraffe that weighs 1,800 pounds, it's super dangerous. We had people that came from Brookfield Zoo. We had people that flew in from Colorado. We had University of Illinois there. We had I work in the zoo industry. I did not know there was one of these until recently. We had the foremost giraffe anesthesiologist come here to the Peoria Zoo to help us with this operation. They did that because we're a part of AZA. If we were not a part of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums and making sure that we attain those highest level standards, it wouldn't talk to us. Brookfield started out going, you know, we'll do our best, but we're going to have to send you a bill. And I know the director, I like to pick on, because Brookfield isn't about giving anything out for free. So I said, man, this is going to be tough. We got the bill. All they charged us for was the travel. They said, you're a smaller zoo, you had a need, you had an emergency, you're part of AZA, we wanted to help you. Now, Emmy is also in the stud book, but how closely we watch them, and it's not because she only has one eye now. We don't breed her because she came from Cheyenne Mountain, so she's a little bit older. In the old days at Cheyenne Mountain, they just put all their giraffes together. So we don't currently know who Emmy's daddy is. So we have the new guy Fitz who has breeding recommendations, but he doesn't get a breeding recommendation with Emmy because we can't trace his lineage. That all takes an immense amount of time to trace everything to have that as it should be. So we're very lucky to get that back from the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And the people who run the stud book, so some of you may know her name is Dawn Peatfish. She is the deputy director at the zoo. She has been there for 38 years. And she is the assistant on the pig stud book. And it's funny, because I desperately want us to get Babirusa. Babirusa is a type of pig. So I thought, great, she's the vice chair, will help us get it in. And it was the first time she came to me, she went, no. I said, damn. So, you know, even as her boss, and something that I really wanted, and I know the community would love, and they would like to see this, she's looking out to make sure that we have the institution that can provide that animal with what it needs for cradle to grave care, because we do believe in cradle to grave care at the Peoria Zoo, as well as we have the finances to make sure we could build the habitat. So that's when she went, no. Then saving animals from extinction. I tend to go over, I wanted to check my watch. If I get close, just give me a this. It won't be the first time somebody's conservation is core to what we do at Peoria Zoo. It's core to why I'm up here. You know, in a roundabout way, conservation is what helped me change my life and breaks very generational dysfunction that has been going on for and it's an Asian wild horse. They were extinct in the wild. Cincinnati Zoo, other AZA zoos, and some great on-grounds biologists worked and were able to reintroduce that Przewalski horse back to the wild, and there is currently a stable population of that species in the wild today. For whatever reason as a kid, that resonated with me, because I was like, oh my God, there is a chance for change, there is hope. And that's really what we're in the business of, is hope. You come to the zoo to, one, have a good time, and then two, hopefully you leave with hope. And that's where our SAFE comes in. So it's through the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. It is saving animals from extinction. We make sure that every species that we have a home for, that has a safe program, we make sure that we are a part of that program. That allows our keepers, who are the new keepers all the way up to the ones who have been there 30 to 50 years. And yes, we do have a keeper who's been there now 47 years. I think she's holding on just so she can have that 50-year mark. But amazing knowledge. And we get them involved in these so that way they can have an input into conservation, which is very important as far as our people retention. Because we want to not only save animals, we want to save our people too. And that people retention comes from the average burnout rate for a keeper is 7 years. You can only shovel so much poop before you go, this is what I got into this for. This is how I'm saving these animals. And when we can plug them into programs like this to where they're actually helping animals both in the wild and in human care, changes their whole outlook. And then it switches from that burnout to then becoming a career. So we work with SAFE internally with our species. Then we do have in situ or on grounds conservation efforts that we work with. Our two big ones are our International Rhino Foundation that we support, and then the Giraffe Conservation Fund. It's also our two biggest species on grounds. People love them a lot, so it makes good sense to work with them. The International Rhino Foundation, we're actually expanding our outreach with them. I have a call soon to the director of that foundation. They do all of their work on grounds. As far as in Africa, we're going to start working with them more collaboratively, so that way we can make sure we're providing the resources that they need so they can do their job as good as possible. We constantly look at our conservation funding. I'm sure there's a lot of business people in here. When you're looking at how you want to spend your money, you've got a couple ways you can do it. You can go a mile wide and an inch deep, or do you go an inch wide and a mile deep? And instead of us deciding that internally, we're getting with the people who are running the conservation foundations and asking them, what do you need? And then when you start adding in the exchange rate between the American dollar and the dollars that they're spending on the ground as far as whatever currency they use in the country they're from, makes a massive, massive difference. So and speaking of the money part, there's a great saying that I forgot who I stole it from. I didn't come up with it, but I firmly believe in it. Conservation without funding is just conversation. We don't have the money to do this, and we're not running a good operation, and we're not running something that makes each one of you want to come to the zoo and bring your children. And we can't fund what we're doing. We can't fund conservation. So we have to have a business mind with all of this as well. The animals at the Peoria Zoo, these are two pictures of our animals. The top one is Nikita. She was born at the zoo about 13 years ago. She is a geriatric animal. Speaking of that great cradle-to-grave care, when she was born along with her litter mates, we knew through some blood tests and some other stuff that she had some hereditary genetic issues that we did not want to breed. So we knew from when she was a cub that she was not going to be in the breeding program. We did not, what we call in the industry, depopulate. She was otherwise healthy, and the issues weren't going to arise unless we bred her. So we decided that since moving forward, we didn't have the facilities to breed more, that we would keep her. And we have, and she's living a good life. Like I said, she's 13, coming up on 14, and that's a picture that was taken not long ago, around the time I first met her, because she's like, I don't know your smell, so do I just disembowel you? And I'm taken with the look in her eyes. I must have smelled like chicken tenders or something like that. So, and then the one on the bottom right, that's Rory. So he's new, and that was just taken a few days ago. He is our young male mandrill. And I was on the radio the other day, and I was talking about mandrills, and I could tell by the DJ's look that he had no clue what I was talking about. And I thought of something my boss, Emily Cahill, told me that her and her family called them. And I was like, oh, that's good. So I tried it with him. As soon as I said it, he was like, I know exactly where those are. And what those are is the rainbow butt monkey. See? So everybody now knows it's been there, like, oh, I know exactly where those reside. And that's what he is. He's little right now. He doesn't have the rainbow face that he's going to get when he gets older, but he is just a phenomenal specimen of the work that the amazing crew of the Peoria Zoo does. If we weren't providing the appropriate habitat for these guys, they often don't do a species-specific behavior, which is mating. You know, we want them to do that. Now, the male. So here's a great story as far as what it takes to sometimes get them to do what they're going to do, along with the interpersonal relationships, is our guy currently, Linus. He is a mandrill's mandrill. He does what mandrills are supposed to do. He scours the outdoor habitat, scours the indoor habitat. He makes sure that all the females are safe, and the females want nothing more than to make babies with Linus. The guy before Linus, he didn't want to do anything other than kick his feet up, eat his food, and then just wait for the next showtime and dinner time to come up. Couldn't get him to, the females wanted nothing to do with him. Didn't matter what we did. They were like, he's not a mandrill. So he went to another place that could provide him cradle to grave care that didn't need him to breed. We brought in Linus, and Linus is doing just fine. We actually call Linus Mr. One and Done, because when we first brought him in, 2 days, and his sister River, she was brought about. The mom was on birth control when Rory came about. So Linus is our man. And now that's one of those that makes the stud bookkeeper, it makes them so frustrated, because they're like, you didn't have a recommendation. Linus didn't care. I don't know what to tell you. Nature will find a way. So then, and it's funny because then you like all of these extra recommendations come out, and everything has to get moved around literally all across the country because everybody is waiting on these certain things. So, but he will be with us for several years. Something else we do is, you haven't told me to hush yet, so. Something else we do is we try to make sure that we keep natural groupings, meaning Nikita up on top. Nikita would spend her life solitarily, except for when she's having babies and breeding in the wild by herself. People that tell you, oh, the tigers need to be with other tigers, ain't so. If you see a bunch of tigers together, they are very, very stressed tigers, and I bet you if we took some urine and ran a cortisol test, I bet you their cortisol would be just off the charts because of how much stress they have. On the flip side, you have something like the mandrill, who does live in a group situation. If you have a solo or a single primate, they're going to be very, very stressed. So we make sure that we have those animals in their natural groupings for as long as possible. The other thing that we have found, when we get out of ourselves as humans and go, oh, we know how to make sure that the animals breed and we can teach them how to take care of their babies. That ain't so. When we do that, when we step in and try to get in the middle of or take the babies and hand rear them, we can do a decent job, but we're not nearly as effective. And the other thing that we find is when those babies grow up and have babies of their own, they don't know what the heck to do with the babies because they never saw anybody in a natural grouping. So we want to make sure that we can keep him and his sister, well, so that's the great thing for his sister River, who just turned 2 years old. She's getting to see how her mom raises a baby. So when she goes and have babies of her own, we have the data, those stud bookkeepers, they love their numbers. And we know that when you can, when an individual is raised by its mother, the level of and the number of infant mortality drops, just goes through the floor. And we just have to step outside sometimes and let them do their thing. So very proud that we do all of that. And those are some that you can see both of them. If you come to the zoo, people always say, hey, can you go out and get the tiger up for me? Can't. She's gonna do what she will tell you that the winter time is the time to come see her. I have some great videos of her at -10 in snow, just rolling around and playing. You'll see our signs there, they call them the Amur tiger. They used to be called the Siberian tiger. Only reason we don't call them Siberian tigers anymore is they are no longer found in that area. And so they've been pushed south and they absolutely love the cold. So come to Asia, you'll get to see her running around and playing. Now the community impact that we've been talking about, and this is Radar. So Radar's our new zebra, male zebra. Probably can't tell why we called him Radar. He has exceptionally large ears. And so he's very interested to hear, hey, how many people am I helping? How many people am I impacting? This year alone, we're gonna hit 135,000. Now I'm excited about that number, one, because it was only about 3 or 4 years ago, notwithstanding COVID, that we were down to right around 100,000 people per year. So 135,000 growth in just a short 3 years is very good growth. Now, I will also tell you, there are zoos like ours in demographics and MSAs, so metro statistical areas, that are similar in size to us that are hitting 300,000 to 400,000 people per year, and that's where we're heading. That's where we're going to get the growth to. And then it does include 6,000 visitors on donation days. Donation days are a day when anybody can come in for free and see the zoo. Making sure that we're open and available and accessible to people of all demographics is exceptionally important to me. I come from a very, very low socioeconomic family. We used to go pick up pop bottles to get hopefully soup beans so we could have them for the week, or enough bologna and bread to have dinner. If we didn't get enough pop bottles, we didn't eat. Also very dysfunctional. So we didn't get to go places. We often didn't want to go places as a family. So we didn't have those opportunities. And it's life-changing, you know, and like I said, the times we did get to go to the Cincinnati Zoo and that hope that I found and brought back literally carried me through many, many difficult times. Everybody has their own hope. I hope everybody in here has found theirs, but know that we present that to children so that we can be that. So we will continue our donation days. We have 52 a year, either 52 or 57. Give me that 5. Then also, our 2025 education programs reached over 10,000 students. Talked to the education curator before I left. I think we might actually hit 12,000 this year, but that's 12,000 students in Peoria County in central Illinois that get to come to the zoo on field trips, and almost all of that for free. So they can come and check out the zoo, see the different things. Our education curator and her team are on top of it and make sure that we have different keeper chats and educational opportunities for all the different grades so they can see the opportunities that are out there. And we are reaching people from Iowa, Wisconsin, St. Louis, and Chicago suburbs. And that's important because that shows really how big our zoo is. We aren't just the Peoria Zoo anymore. We're a zoo for all of central Illinois. And when you look at the number of people that we have the opportunity to serve, as this map shows, we have a ton of people that come from Springfield, Bloomington, Normal, outside the Quad Cities, all of that. You know, we're serving actually around 900,000 people that are willing to come to our zoo. And they're willing to come to our zoo and pay a little bit higher prices for stuff like Glow Wild that we had. Anybody in here come to Glow Wild this year? Did you have a good time? I saw a smile. Okay.
It was
Great.
awesome.
Good. Glad to hear it. We're gonna bring it back. So we're gonna change the theme. Don't worry, it's gonna be all new. We're also gonna have Chinese acrobats this time. So come and see the new thing. But we had 27,000 people that showed up for that. The company, so we did a cost share, so we were owned by the park district. We worked out the contract, did the contract with this company, cost shared. They said, okay, if you get around 8,000 people, we'll consider it a success. 27,000 people is what we wound up with. My level of success, because we were charging a premium ticket price, it's not something the park district normally does. The park district generally keeps that ticket price way down. To do something like this, you can't do that. You have to charge those prices that you're seeing in Chicago and St. Louis, not because we want to be like them, but just because of your overhead. You got to pay for this stuff. And my level of success is if we had people come from the suburbs of Chicago and the suburbs of St. Louis saying that they had a good time, that was going to be a win. And we did. People were like, it was actually a quicker trip for us than going into downtown Chicago because we could just come here, we could pop in. It was a great experience. And we changed everything. The food service, some of you all might have heard of a place called the Chef and the Baker. That business closed down for many different reasons, but we now employ the baker side of that, Karen Hocker. Just totally changed the food service experience. You're used to going to a zoo and getting popcorn and chicken tenders. You can still get that, but you can also get things such as a vegetarian Thai wrap. You can get a turkey burger, all of the stuff that you might want that the kids don't want, and then they can still have theirs. So we're providing an experience that you are gonna get at those bigger zoos, but it's something that people of Central Illinois can really come into and take part of. Like I said, there's a picture of the lights. We did have a fire-breathing dragon. Fire-breathing dragon will come back for Zootober next year. And as I said in the last slide, 8,000 people showed up for Zootober. So we're talking 35,000 additional people coming in just for those two programs at the zoo. We started a brunch with giraffes. That sold out, oh my goodness, in like a week and a half, 2 weeks after posting that up. What that is that's something that all the money for it goes to conservation. It goes to that giraffe conservation fund I showed you all earlier. You come in, you have a nice brunch. You get to hear me drone on about giraffes. You get to hear a keeper talk about how they take care of the animals. And then we go and then you actually meet a giraffe. And people just loved it. It's a fun experience. So keep your eyes out. We're going to be doing one next year. We'll also probably be doing one with the rhinos. So all the slobber is free, so you get to keep that. And then we're doing Lucy Lights. So I bring that up because we're like, well, zoo, Lucy, is it the same thing? For me, it is. Cincinnati Zoo was a Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Gardens. I bring that up because the grounds of the Cincinnati Zoo are absolutely gorgeous. Other zoos also have their botanical gardens inside the zoo. So we are working on bringing the expertise that is over at the botanical gardens into the zoo and making it one large collaborative effort. So that way you just have a fully different experience, and we can grow some of the stuff and the enrichment items that our animals want right there. Then we turn the zoo into an on-grounds class for students to come in and learn how to do all of that and how it all connects. So very excited about Lucy, but also come to Lucy Lights. Ticket price is great, it's $0. So we just asked for some donations. We've got some homemade eggnog that Karen's doing this year. Yes, there's one that does have alcohol, so makes the light shine a little brighter and sparkling. So the other future of the Peoria Zoo, we always have to change. As you saw at the very beginning of the slideshow, it said that 2009 is when Africa opened. Well, so how many years is that since we've done a major upgrade? Well, 16 almost now? So we do have to start looking at, we call it Oz at the zoo, for original zoo. We have to start looking at the original zoo. What does it need to bring it up to the AZA standards of today so those animals can continue to have the quality of life that they need and our guests can have the experience that you all deserve because you all are our guests. So be on the lookout for stuff in your mailbox, little hints of capital campaigns coming up, teasers as far as a master plan that's going to be coming out of changes that are going to be happening at the Peoria Zoo. So with that, and I think I lost the end of it, sorry.
Nope.
Oh, good, you had. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you all for any questions. And I hope I didn't go over.
Perfect.
So you mentioned that Nakia was geriatric. What is the average lifespan?
Great question. So in the wild, you're looking at 7 to 8 years for an Amur tiger. In human care, you're looking at 12 to 14. She is 13, but we went ahead and put her in the geriatric because of those different issues that she has. But so she's getting up there to the top. I've worked with tigers that have been 17, 18, but it's rare.
Thank you for being here. It was so much fun listening to you and feeling your enthusiasm. The first question that I have is, your PhD is, what was the specific study you were doing?
Well, so overall, it's in educational leadership and policy studies, but I had to have a colon in the title. So it is the empathetic connections and their impact on pro-conservation behavior change in humans.
Sounds like a PhD title. And the second question is, I don't know how I can word this, but how do you go from 9th grade dropout to a doctoral program? It's amazing, and congratulations, and thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you. That answer, we'll probably need a couple beers and a couple hours. I can tell you, and I'm willing to do that with anybody, and not just for the beer. I can tell you it truly took a community. I was very angry and very confused when I was younger. When I dropped out, my dad, I pretty much dropped out of high school and left home at 15, right after my dad passed away at 15 from lung cancer. But it took a community, and I didn't realize it took a community until I hit my 30s. There was never a time, even at my lowest points as a child, or even as dysfunctional as our house was, there was never a time that there wasn't somebody there to support me. But it took a long time for me to realize that. And that's why reaching out to the community, letting you all know what's going on at the zoo is so important for me, because it takes a community. So very short answer, but, and those Przewalski horses that gave me hope, they did. I was like, man, if they can do it and they were extinct, maybe I can do it. And I gotta tag on to that real quick. And it's the quintessential answer, my mother. So she was also a high school dropout, did not have her education. 49 years old, she found a group called the New Opportunity School for Women in Peoria, Kentucky. A wonderful program. She went back, got her, first she got her GED, then her bachelor's, and then her master's at 61. I was like, damn, if she can do it, I can't let mom, top me. So I went back and got 2 masters and a doctorate, so that way I could go see mom. So you're talking about a woman that's been through it. And I'm very happy to say she lives here with me now. So it's cool stuff.
Cool.